Let's go. Hey everyone, so this is Hadrien from Sysmo, and today we're going to talk about attestations and what we call Web3 cookies. It will enable a lot of things in Web3, so we're going to talk about that, how to leverage your data. So first, let's give a definition of attestations. So it is a user data that is related to a user that is certified by an issuer, and we will see different kind of issuers, and that is provable to a third party. The third party can read the attestation and know that it is legit. So, like there are a lot of examples. You can think about like national IDs, your age, more crypto-native stuff, big delegate of a DAO, participated in governance, and generally like any user data. So it can be Web2 data, also your Twitter followers. It can be national data or Web3 data. So I think it's interesting to think about the two main ways to create attestations. The first one is centralized issuance. So I'm a third party, I'm the nation state, I give you your passport. Your passport is an attestation. So this could be digitalized, and that will create an attestation. It's interesting. Other stuff is Web2 companies, for instance, Twitter, they have their private database, and they can certify something about their data. So your number of Twitter followers or things like that. The way it works is that the issuer, in this case, the attester, signs a message. I certify that this data is valid, and I'm the central authority that gives it its validity. So yeah, the other way to create attestations, and I think it's even more interesting, is user-generated. So as a user, I have public data on my DID, on my address, and I'm able myself to prove to a third party something about me. So in that case, the attester is actually a smart contract that verifies user proof, and the issuance is trustless in a way. The mechanism is just a smart contract that verifies a user proof about its own data. So you can think about, again, governance participation, asset ownership. And it's based on the public available data, and there is more and more publicly available data. So what are they used for? They are very great to be used as reputation inside your app. Okay, you did this, you're a big delegate, you have a big I don't know, GitHub contributions on big projects. And also as access control. It's the beginning of the notion of Web3 cookie. Is, okay, I want to gate part of my app to some specific users. I require them to bring me an attestation that proves something about them, and identity creation. So now, application will use attestations as a technical tool. But how attestation that I told you about, that was theoretical, how are they available to applications? You have the two main standards that you must have heard about, verifiable credentials. In this case, it's an off-chain API where applications can fetch attestations. And the third party that rely on them verify that the attestation was well signed by the issuer of the attestation. So it's really an improvement from Web2, because currently APIs, they just give you data, they don't certify anything. But it's still in the Web2 language, in the way that there is communication with a central party that sign things. So it's still centralized, but it's big improvement from Web2. The other way to make attestation available to applications is using tokens. So you can call them badge, non-transferable tokens, solvent token. In any way, it's using a very common standard, the token standard, to use as a store of data. So by doing a badge, let's say a badge that proves that I'm a big delegate in ENS DAO, by making it available as an NFT, what's great is that on-chain apps can use it, airdrops, governance, and anything that any smart contract can access it, but also off-chain applications. And sometimes we forget about that, but like the EVM is read by tons of Web2 apps. So that makes it very well accessible. It's a standard API, the token API. So the way it works is that you receive on the wallet a badge, a non-transferable NFT SBT, and behind that there is an attestation. And so by proving the accounts, like with a sign-in with Ethereum, or yeah, with a sign-in with Ethereum, you can prove you have the badge or the soulbound token, and thus prove the underlying attestation. So now, I think this is the most important part of this, is why attestations. There's three main things that are interesting, is the data liquidity, granularity, and aggregation. So data liquidity, it's really giving you power on your data. You have data here, I don't know, you have reputation on DeFi, reputation as a contributor in projects. You have a lot of data spread a bit all over. And with attestation, you are able to move them from a place, your DeFi wallet, to maybe your social wallet. And so basically the idea is that I have reputation somewhere, I want to import it somewhere else, or I want to prove something about myself to third parties. And generally, Web2 companies are not built in this way, they don't give you power on your data. And so attestation can give you really this ability to have your data liquid, your reputation, your history. The other part is granularity. I think this one has more to do with consent, is that on my national ID there is so much information, and I should be able to just give the exact information that is required by the application. If I need to prove that I'm older than 18-year-old, I should just prove that. Or similarly in Web3 native case, if I just want to prove that I have an NFT, I shouldn't share my wallet address with tons of information in it. The other part is the aggregation, is, okay, I have ID a bit everywhere, maybe on different wallets, maybe on different chains, and I should, as the user, it's my accounts, I should be able to have an aggregated view of all of that. And if you add the granularity part, it gives you really sovereignty of your ID. I have the aggregated view, I need to access an application, I give them just what they need. So you need ZK for granularity. If you want to extract some part of data of your wallet, you need to find a way to prove that you have, let's say, an NFT without giving your address. We're doing this at Sysmo with ZK Snacks. Aggregation is the same way. How do I prove that I have, let's say, 10 NFTs from several wallets without giving you my wallets? We do that in Snacks too. And liquidity, actually, you don't necessarily need ZK. So attestations are more than just ZK tools or privacy tools. It's really a way to control your data and make it readable in a way by applications, so that you can really leverage your data that is yours. So for instance, you have on your code wallet all your assets, all your net worth is there, but you just need to use your data. You just need to use that, hey, I have a good credit score. And maybe you want to use that from a hot wallet. So just generated an attestation from a cold wallet to a hot wallet that I have a good credit score can be useful because it increases the liquidity of your data. So now Web3 cookie, what it is, it's this concept of attestations delivered under the form of SBTs. If I'm able to, I don't know, have a big follower count on Lens and I have a good credit score on Aave, if I'm able to generate just, hey, I'm a good lender and I have a great reputation, and put this on an unknown address just to access a service that is gated for these people, I'm kind of created Web3 cookies So I generated from my data the attestation needed and just them that can be consumed by any applications. And we did it in a very interoperable, trustless, and reusable way, because in the end, these are tokens. I still control the addresses on which it is. And you have the power of smart contracts. You can do so many things. You can get your airdrop to this attestation. You can do governance instead of doing just token voting. You can do token voted, weighted by reputation or stuff like that. So yeah, again, it's liquidity. It gives you the ability to leverage your full data. So yeah, just want to say one thing, is that often granularity is understood, aggregation is understood, but the liquidity part, I'm talking a lot about that today, is that we've been raised with Web2 accounts, and we never felt the fact that we never shared our data between Twitter, Facebook, Airbnb, Uber, and it kind of constrained our imagination, I think. And by being able to transfer your data and control all your reputation, there will be crazy applications. Even in Web3, we are still wallet-centered, address-centric, and we still think one account, one usage, one human, one account. But this is the vestige from Web2, if you think about it. Like, wallets should have like hundreds of addresses that are just technicalities. Anyway, and DeFi showed us this. If you think about centralized finance, you have many accounts in many different financial services. And what DeFi proved is that with one account, you have tens of protocols integrated. And if you think about it, I'm short on time, but the ERC20s, what they are actually, they are attestations of fact. Like I told you, some attestations are centralized issued by central authorities. That is what is USD and USDT. USDC is an attestation that there is some USD somewhere in the bank account, and so this is an attestation that you have a USD value. DAI is user-generated proof of USD value ownership. ADAI, it's an attestation that you deposited in Aave, like A3 curve, it's an attestation that you deposited value in Aave and curve. And that's what made DeFi so interesting, is that this liquidity, but not just liquidity of financial capital, is this liquidity of information, like I did this and then I can reuse what I did. And in DeFi it's easy because everything is financial. And it's native, I don't know how to say it, but now imagine you can do that between financial data and social data and professional data and Web2 data and national data. And that's what we aim at. We want, with attestations, to really release this, like be a bridge between all your data. There is more and more data available on chain and available on your DIDs. And let's break the data silos. We are so used to data silos from Web2, but I think that you should be able to have a group chat with your Twitter and Facebook friends. You should be able to have a better rating loan, a better interest rate on your loan because you're a good Uber driver or Airbnb host. And I think that with attestations, if we do it well, if you think about Lens protocol, for instance, they are a source of social reputation. With DeFi, with governance, I think that we will be able to have like really innovative applications that are amazing. So that's what we aim at. We built as Sysmo, but generally I think the whole ecosystem is thinking like that a bit. We're trying to create this new primitive that lets anyone control its identity and make it more liquid. So Sysmo, we are an attestation protocol. We are the home for many diverse attestations. We are basically a registry of many attestations, and we make them available through our products to all applications. So it's around Sysmo, it's easy to use this attestation to gate your service or as reputation. So yeah, that's it. I don't know if you have time for one question or... Yes?
If I'm someone with a very good credit score, what prevents me from generating attestations and selling them on the secondary market to people?
Yeah, so the question was, let's say that I'm able to generate an attestation that vet for my good credit score. What makes me, what prevents me from selling it, right? Yeah, that's actually, everything is programmable. So if you think about it, it's on smart contracts. So maybe at the same time that you generate your attestation, maybe you have to lock some capital, or even better, you have to lock some of your reputation, or you use some Sybil resistance attestation tool that proves that you're a human, so you can do it, but only once. Or you must also prove that you own the destination account. Like in the end, the attestation will be owned by an address, so you prove ownership of this address. Yeah, again, we're trying to open the design space, and I think like there are so many solutions to these kind of problems that's hard problems.
There's no way to enforce only one attestation being
Yeah, for us, for Sysmo, what we did is that you prove ownership of the private key of the destination. So if you have an attestation there, yeah, that means that you own the private key. So you can sell this private key, but it remains weird and yeah.
Or you can actually ask the person you're selling the attestation to generate the proof, and then they get the attestation, and you do that again for anyone else.
Yeah, I cannot reply in precision for this one, but.
If you attest that you have like a good credit score, and then later your credit score gets bad, does the attestation somehow update, or is it like once it's there, it's there?
Yeah, to be honest, the credit score one is good for the vision,
Okay.
but I think it's pretty far down the road because it has these kind of complexities. But there are ways to solve it by looking some reputation or by using civil resistance, or you can also, like, you have an attestation with your credit score, then you can have a attestation that you did well with your credit score that you can think about systems that are great.
But an attestation is just a snapshot, right? It's not like, it's not continually updating. It's like at one point in time you had.
Depends on which ones, actually. Like some of them, yes, but there are some dynamics. Yes.
So what is the form of the attestation? Like, is it like a token? Can you make it just non-transferable?
Excuse me?
So what is the form of the attestation?
Yeah, so some are delivered as verifiable credentials, and ours are delivered as delivered as soul-bound tokens. So badges, non-transferable token. So you have a badge, and behind there is an attestation. Thank you, guys. I think that's it.